Today's video was made possible by the realest buckaroonies of them all, my patrons. My patrons make it possible to keep this channel independent and make the best quality content I possibly can for all of you. Of course, my patrons get some extra cool bits as well, like exclusive sample packs and preset packs and other things too spicy for YouTube. If you want to help support the channel and buy me a coffee, you can sign up with the link down in the description. Real success is easy to see. It's almost immediately apparent when someone is truly a master of their craft. Whether it's DJ Khaled performing a guitar masterpiece, Carnage dropping some knowledge bombs on complex, innovative sound design, or Fergie absolutely slaying the national anthem to a speechless audience. The simple truth is professionals don't have to tell you that they're a professional. Success is self-evident, absolute, and unquestionable to those who achieve it. I'm just kidding. It's all f***ed. Howdy doody, buckaroonies, and welcome back to another episode of I Like the Way You Talk Words, Mustache Man. I want to let you in on a little secret. I feel like I have no idea what the f*** I'm doing about 90% of the time. As someone who struggles quite a bit with anxiety and depression, imposter syndrome seems to be a pretty regular guest on the rotating cast of things that are just trying to f*** up my vibe. Imposter syndrome is a common and extremely frustrating experience for many creators. So today, I wanted to open up a discussion about it and explore the causes, the drawbacks and the benefits, and talk about how to keep on keeping on in spite of it. Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks, once said that very few people, whether you've been in that job before or not, get into the seat and believe today that they are now qualified to be the CEO. They're not going to tell you that, but it's true. Imposter syndrome is simple. It's a vague feeling that you don't deserve your success or achievements. It's a sense that there's this threshold that needs to be met, either real or imagined, and you're just not tall enough to ride that ride, and one day, the world is going to know. The American Psychological Association found that around 82% of people face some form of imposter syndrome. Since those facing these types of issues tend to keep it private as an internal battle, it's actually surprising to know how nearly universal this phenomenon is. Imposter syndrome is common across all skill levels, from the budding, aspiring artist to the highest levels of academic achievement. Even Einstein struggled with what he called being an involuntary swindler. Paradoxically, imposter syndrome seems to be more pronounced among high-achieving individuals and also disproportionately affects those in underrepresented groups. So this means that success isn't necessarily tied to a belief in your own abilities. So why is that? And how did we get here to begin with? When we compare ourselves to others, we often only consider the top percentiles of their work, which can lead us to forget that bad work is a normal part of the creative process. Comparison can also lead us to attribute our successes to external factors beyond our control, rather than to our own skill or ability. You didn't win that award because you deserved it. You won because of a matter of being at the right place at the right time. You don't deserve the headlining slot at that festival. You simply engaged with the right people and perhaps kissed the right ass. You didn't get the job because you're skilled. You got the job because your resume just happened to hit the desk on a day that the director was feeling generous. If you're someone who tends to be a perfectionist, you burn the candle at both ends every time you do anything. You couldn't possibly have true skill if every project requires this much work. Or, on the inverse, for those of you who tend to cram things in at the last second, if you really were great, you would be able to take this head on right away instead of another night mainlining Red Bull and furiously scribbling away. Similarly, a need for a sense of competition and an aim to be the best to accomplish things can cultivate an equally detrimental mindset. Once you find out you're not the biggest fish in the pond after achieving some level of success to bring you up to that next level, the question of your right to be there starts to claw roots into your ego. All this is to say, imposter syndrome is a real bitch, but it is comforting as a sort of coping mechanism. By offsetting the idea of true genius and success onto others, we don't have to deal with the responsibility that being successful carries. And because of that, we're also not taking on the burden of understanding that these select few are equally flawed. The downsides of this are obvious. Obsessive tendencies deny you progress or an ability to even enjoy your work and process. Self-doubt leads to a lack of confidence and willingness to try. You have a lack of work to show due to perfectionism wrenching its grip around your ability to call something done, and a deep sense of vague paranoia sits ever present that everything is all going to come crashing down once someone sees through your specific brand of bullshit. It's not all bad though. Imposter syndrome can have its upsides, driving you to work harder, making you critical of your own work and aim to do better. It can help keep you aware of your peers and what's happening in your industry and drive you to continue educating yourself. It keeps you humble and reminds you that you don't know everything, and in a way, it gives you a fresh slate to start with each day to aim for progress. This is why I think as creators, it's important to learn to reframe our understanding of what imposter syndrome is. Because even the word syndrome seems to imply too much. It's not a disease, it's not even abnormal, it's almost unbelievably universal. So, what can we as creators do to learn to live alongside this little green bastard floating on our shoulder? Learning to zoom out and examine your creative work and achievements at face value can really be the fastest way to combat these feelings. Regardless of your accolades, it takes a lot of work, time, and dedication to get where you are and achieve what you have. No matter what point in your creative evolution you may find yourself in, you've undeniably made some form of progress from where you were previously. One powerful exercise in the world of psychology is the use of the word because. If you feel like a failure or a fraud, get comfy in your misery and dig right on down. Reframing your problem as a statement is an easy tool for examination of these cognitive distortions. I'm not a bad chef. I feel like a bad chef because I got a 3-star review recently. 3-star reviews make me feel bad because I need acceptance from others. I need acceptance from others because I prefer to shoulder the burden of learning to admire myself on anyone else rather than accept my duty as being my own responsibility. I'm not saying you have to go out and remove some of your ribs to tickle your own proverbial pickle here, and a little bit of ego death now and again is a healthy way to explore the meaning and extent of your self-prescribed purpose. However, never taking a moment to appreciate your accomplishments is a sneaky way to develop a sense of having accomplished nothing at all. Did you get 100 plays on your last track? Then go buy a cake. Did you make the top 5 regional sales managers? Go f*** up a baked potato. Your butter sculpture won first prize at the county fair? That yacht is yours, queen. You earned it. It was once said that perfectionism is the art of never being satisfied. Nothing you can do will ever be perfect, and the sooner you accept the idea that you're a loser like the rest of the world, the sooner you can live with the idea of good enough. There's a saying in music that a mix is never finished, it's just abandoned. If you can reasonably believe you've put in your best effort with the current state of a project, then it's done. There's never going to be a true cure for imposter syndrome, and it's important to accept that it's something you and almost everyone you know will deal with and will never stop dealing with at some point or another. Believing that there's something wrong only feeds into the idea that there's actually a problem to begin with. Just like breathing, eating, or taking the occasional spicy Taco Bell dump, you've got baggage like everyone else. So, the only reasonable action here? Talk to somebody. Talk to a friend or a coworker or a family member or your dog about your feelings and your fears, and be sure to be there for them when they inevitably need to do a little bit of the same. Whether or not we want to admit it, most of the time we're all just sort of faking it until we make it, and eventually it just gets progressively less and less faking. But it never really reaches true zero levels of just sort of winging it. So, where does that leave us? Once again, we arrive at the all too familiar answer of, well, there is no answer. The one simple truth is that life's a bitch, and then you die. Whether you're deep in a spiraling cycle of imposter syndrome or not, the only thing we can reasonably do is embrace the present circumstance of our existence, and the only beneficially spiteful choice we can make in the face of such existential dread is to make the best form of our work that we can today. Yesterday is over and isn't coming back, and tomorrow is certainly not guaranteed. Somewhere out in the eons of space, false vacuum decay could mean that slinking towards us is the abject end of every aspect of known reality in less than a zeptosecond, and there is nothing you can do to stop that. In the meantime, whether you feel like you deserve your success or not, you might as well buckle down and enjoy painting something, making some beats, baking those muffins, or maybe telling your boss Lenny to go f*** himself and starting that business you've been dreaming of. Apocalyptic reality-destroying wave of eternal nothingness or not, in the end, maybe nothing matters anyway, and you're only going to get one shot at it. Unless reincarnation is real and you're going to come back as some kind of deformed platypus. But maybe that's a rant for another video. So, nihilism, am I right? If you have some other thoughts on this, feel free to share them down in the comments below. If there's another topic you think would be worth tackling, feel free to let me know as well. If you enjoyed this video and you want more ones like it, there's a ton of ways you can support the channel with the links down in the description below. And other than that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And of course, as always, I hope this inspires you to get out there and make something awesome.